Hello, everyone. I'm Sharon Waxman. I'm the CEO and the editor-in-chief of TheWrap, and we're so happy to have you here for our 2021 Awards and International Screening Series. Today, we're excited to bring you 200 Meters, this year's Jordanian Best International Feature Entry. We're going to be showing you the trailer of the movie, and then we'll be going right into a conversation with director Amin Naifa and lead actor Ali Suleiman. So to our audience, please, you're welcome to join us in the live chat during this stream, I should say. And please do tell us your thoughts about the film. Let us know where you're coming from. Ali and Amin are coming from different parts of the world, like so much of this screening series, which really is a tour around the world. So before we get to talk to our honored guests, let's take a look at the trailer for 200 Meters.
أنا بالطريق قطعت الحاجز من شوي. كيف راح ابنك على المستشفى هيك بدونك؟ هو عايش مع عمه ب 48.
مصطفى قال لي مش مواجهه انك انت بتعرف كثير منيح من الحق عليك انت. لما كان عندك فرصه انك تطلع هويه اسرائيليه رفضت وتنحت.
تصبح على خير. هو خلاص بكفي.
Hello. Are you from Germany?
Yes, from Berlin.
Oh.
I do have a confession for you.
Stop the fucking car. اخوات المنيوكي.
انت زلمه مش محترم.
شو اللي مش محترم؟
شو اللي بعد لك مش محترم؟ انا عايش هذا الخرا كل يوم. انا ابني ومرتي واولادي بعيدين عني بس 200 متر ورا هذا الخرا الجبال.
Welcome back. It's my pleasure to introduce director Amin Naifa and actor Ali Suleiman. Welcome, you guys.
Hi.
Thank you.
Let me just give a brief, quick bio for each of you so our viewers can know a little bit about who you are and where you've come from. Director Amin Naifa, born in Palestine in 1988, spent his formative years between Jordan and Palestine. Despite an early interest in filmmaking, in 2010, he earned his Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from Al-Quds University in East Jerusalem. 2 years later, he earned an MFA in film producing from the Red Sea Institute of Cinematic Arts in Jordan. 200 Meters is his first feature film, though his previous shorts had significant recognition in various award nominations. Welcome.
Thank you.
Actor Ali Suleiman graduated from acting school in Tel Aviv in 2000. Following his graduation, Ali joined a Masks theater group in London until he took as a position as an acting teacher. You might recognize him starring opposite Jamie Foxx and Jennifer Garner in the critically acclaimed action thriller, The Kingdom. Welcome, Ali.
Hi. Thank you.
Amin, you're coming to us from Tulkarem in the West Bank, right? So again, we're like this tour around the world that we're doing on this screening series.
Yes, that's true.
Welcome to you. And Ali, you're coming to us from your new film place in, where did you say you are?
I'm in the Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. Okay, so in these COVID times, in this pandemic times, we never know where people are going to be. We just hope everybody's safe. And we're delighted that we're able to bring these films to our audience and to bring conversations with people through the gift of technology from all over the world. So let me just start by saying, thanking you, Amin, for this beautiful film. I can't believe it's your first feature. It's so accomplished. And essentially, it's, as the trailer shows us, it's the story of this father, this man, this Palestinian man, who's has to live divided from his family across this wall in this crazy, I'll say ridiculous almost situation, because of the division between Israel and the Palestinians. And he's just trying to cope. He's just trying to live as a man and as a life of dignity and as a father. Tell us the origin of this story.
Yes, actually, the motivation or like the idea came from my personal life, because I lived this separation as you know, the wall. Many people think that the wall is has been there for like for 50 years. It's actually only 15 years old. It was built in 2004, 2005. And I was, back then I was in my teenage. And as the wall was being built, gradually I was separated from my family, who lived on, in a Palestinian village, but on the Israeli side, like in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and I grew up with this feeling of separation, and I could not see my grandparents and my uncles and my childhood friends, not anymore. And you know, it brought lots of bad memories also. Like I because of this situation, it brought lots of tragedy into my life growing up. So, and this is not only my story; it's a story of a lot of families. And you know, nobody talks about this. Like nobody even cares to solve this situation. So that's why I wanted to discuss this. Or to bring this story into the, you know,
into the attention. Well, you do it in a way that's so, I have to say, is so lovely, because mostly what we see in films about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and I've seen so many of them, and I started my career as a journalist covering the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and got to know people like like Ali's character, who were just regular people trying to raise their families, trying to make a living. That's really most of the people who are caught in this terrible situation. But you came at it in a very human level that is so very easy to understand for a regular person who's never looked at this or even thought about it. So I think that, to me, is what strikes me as so different about most of the stories that we see from this part of the world, which have like armies and terrorists and all those things going on. And so I particularly appreciated your how narrow, you know, how personal you made it. Can we talk about how you chose Ali Suleiman for the lead role, and then I'll ask Ali how he built the character.
Actually, when I started writing this, the first draft in 2013, and since then, since I started to think about Mustafa's character, I only can see Ali Suleiman, because the first film I saw in the cinema, the first Palestinian film I saw was Paradise Now, which he was starring into. It was also an Oscar-nominated film.
Right.
And yeah, since then I was following up with his work, and I knew that the way I see Mustafa, it is Ali, and I could only see him, and I was living with him in my mind all this time.
That's a pretty nice compliment, Ali.
Yeah, it was big.
So when you got the script and you read the story of the struggle of this man, Mustafa, who's really just, most of the stories, he's just trying to get to his family. He's just trying to get to his son who's in the hospital, right? And you get to travel all of the ridiculous, you know, frustrating things that happen on a daily basis.
It is like,
yeah.
And really what I like about this film and about this character is the absurd that family need. It's a basic thing, like just to be together, and they are away from each other only 200 meters. Nobody can imagine that I can really shout from here, and you can listen to me, and we can talk through each other, but we cannot go. And the whole journey that Mustafa need to do every day in basic to reach his work or to reach his family. So it's absurdic way, and to wait all the way in the checkpoints, and all these circumstances really attracted me, and I felt so into this like I want to do this. And also the story of Amin, that he when I spoke with him, he told me about his family. This is something personal to him, and I've heard so many stories from real people who really separated from each other by the wall, and even while we were shooting, I've heard normal people, they were in the streets and they were saying like, what were you shooting, guys? And then we told them the story, and they said like, this is my story. So I heard that from many people who lives like that. Exactly.
Can you talk a little bit about so you actually are from Israel? Yeah, you grew up in Nazareth, is that, or you live in Nazareth?
Yes.
And so you have a different experience as a Palestinian Israeli. Would that be the correct way to say it?
Exactly. It's a bit different from being. This is what most important thing. What Mustafa actually in the film, he refuses to get the ID. When you get the Israeli ID, because his wife is Israeli Palestinian, and she had the Israeli ID, and he refuses to get that. And if he would accept it, then his life become better and easier, for us Palestinians who have the Israeli passport or citizenship since 1948, and it's easier for us to really travel and to go around. It's something that in the West Bank, in Gaza, they cannot do.
Do you understood the reasoning for your character, why he refuses to make his life easier, to be with his children, because of this matter of, I'll say, self-identity? Or, I mean, if you want to address that also, please.
In certain point, it was like easier to get that ID, and Mustafa, he didn't really think about it, how difficult it is. It would be difficult, like, to reach the ID, and he didn't really take it as and while they were living together, the wall wasn't there, and all of a sudden it's there. So when he in certain point, he maybe changed his decision about it, then he cannot do it, because the policy in Israel changed and they cannot really get ID. So and then he stick to his mind just because of the situation is against him, actually, and he cannot really get it. And I don't know if Amin want to say something about it.
Yeah, it's the same point like that Ali is saying. Before the wall was built, it was easier. It was like an option if you want to get the Israeli ID if you are married to an Israeli. Today, it's not an option anymore. You cannot get it.
I see.
But back then, someone like Mustafa, why didn't he change his ID? Because life was easy. Freedom of movement was an option. Nobody thought that things will change to reality.
Right. Oh, so it wasn't even such a matter of principle. You just didn't think that was not going to be an option. You didn't think that you'd have the wall. I see. Well, I want to talk about another aspect of the movie. By the way, it did occur to me when Ali was saying that nobody thinks about the absurdity of this, living 200 meters with a wall between you. But actually, now that we're all living in the pandemic, I think pretty much everyone could understand, yes, because people have relatives in hospitals who they can only see through a glass window or see on FaceTime. And so I think maybe the movie's very timely in that way, because you'll have more empathy. The audience will say, oh yes, we're experiencing this. It's terrible. It's fine for a little while, but when you're caught like that in a permanent situation, it's the word that keeps coming to my mind is just trauma, kind of, that Amin grew up with on a constant basis. But I did want to ask about your approach, Amin, to the tone of the film, because one of the things that also sort of I find it is defining about the film is the lack of sort of actual violence, but there's like an undercurrent of, let's say, emotional violence or psychic violence throughout the film. You have a good man who's kind of forced to break the law. He's forced to break the rules to do something very basic and human, which is to get back to his family and to be by his son's side who needs him. But again, I think it's a tribute to you that you can convey that without shooting people or, the things that we naturally go to when we think about a conflict zone. Can you talk about sort of how you approached the issue of violence, or if it just came out that way from you organically?
Yep, actually, when I started writing the film 7 years ago, the script was a bit more political, but at the same time there was no violence. Like the images of the stereotyped image of violence in Palestine, it was not in my mind, because I was more focused on the absurd that Ali mentioned. But like with time, as I was growing up with the project and doing my rewrites, and also going to workshops and listening to feedback from international professionals, I discovered that, like, more and more I discovered that I don't need to talk about the political situation. All I need to talk about is his journey, and that's how, like, step by step, I was losing all the elements that are trying to show what people already know. So I was, focusing more on the human story.
I think it just was a brilliant choice on your part. Really, it pulls away all of the noise, and you just relate to your characters as people. Can we know a little bit more about the filming of this? You obviously didn't do this during the pandemic. I'm guessing you shot it in 2019?
Yeah.
And tell us what that was like, where you shot it. The other actors who support Ali's lead performance are also really, really interesting, and feels very authentic. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was always caring about the authentic look of the film, and that's why we shot in real locations. So we shot in Tulkarem. Like, most of the film was shot in the city of Tulkarem and its suburbs. And also in the summer of 2019, which was a very hot one, we were shooting in a car or in a van with closed windows to get to good sound with 10 people inside. Is not
right.
No. So if the casting was I think 80% of the cast was their first time on screen. They are coming from theater background, but it's like Ali. Ali is like a veteran actor. The actress who was his wife in the film, she's a professional actress, but she hasn't done any roles since like 6 or 7 years, because she was bringing up 3 daughters, and the rest were just fresh. And also the one with experience was the German actress, Anna Unterberg. And about going back to the locations and the filming, we shot in 35 locations in 22 days, because that's what our budget.
Oh my God, 22 days.
Yes.
So one take per scene.
Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes we can only offer one take, and you know, we were the shooting of the film was the same as the story of the film. You know, we were like racing with time, moving a lot, and always finding obstacles where we go. Yeah, it was not easy, really.
And there's some Israeli actors in there as well, right?
No, we actually all of the act cast are Palestinians. Some are like Palestinians who are living in Israel, so they have the accent and the Hebrew language.
Ah, I see. Okay, so you're like you have the checkpoints and the guards. Those are all actually Palestinians.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. That's great.
The soldier, what's her name?
Rebecca?
Rebecca. She's half Polish, am I right?
Half Dutch.
Half?
Dutch.
Yeah, half Palestinian. Yeah.
That's really interesting. So Ali, how was that for you? I mean, you had that scene where you're stuck in I'm not spoiling anything, but you're stuck in the trunk of a car.
This was one of the really hardest scenes to do, because to fit all of us, like the three of us, to fit in the trunk.
And the cameraman. Yeah.
And the camera, like that, even though like it was open sometimes, but we have to make it dark. But it was open and really hard to breathe, and it was really, really hard to breathe there.
I believe that.
And also the shooting the actual checkpoints to get into the crowded place. It's like a huge checkpoint that in the morning you can see it empty, and in the morning, like evening, like let's say 2 a.m. Sorry, it started the life there, and you can see like as a big market before they cross the border, or they start to.
You're talking about the Palestinian workers.
Yes.
Who were lined up
to
go to work.
Yes, almost like we did like a documentary over there, like when we were shooting. We were shooting, and the real people were there. But interior, it was like made by our art designer. Yeah.
I think it's such a window. We don't think about that, and we hear more, I would say honestly, about the Gaza Strip, because there's usually more conflict there, so it makes more news. Whereas kind of the daily grind, I'll say the daily, things you have to deal with is not something that we get to see. I mean, tell us what it's been like in Tulkarm and in the West Bank and Palestine during this period of time. We've just come through this crazy Trump administration, his supposed attempts to make peace in the Middle East, pretty much ignoring the Palestinians, I would say, which is generally not been the way the United States has approached this really long-standing conflict. How have things been for you, just as a matter of daily life?
Well, daily life, like inside the cities, inside the populated places, it's going like day by day. It's okay, But once you want to move, that's why I think 200 meters is a very important film or story. Once you want to move in Palestine, in the West Bank, you have to travel on Israeli-controlled roads. If I'm going from Tulkarm, a Palestinian city in the West Bank, to Ramallah, I have to travel on Israeli-controlled roads, and I have to go through Israeli-controlled checkpoints. And, I will be also controlled by the Israeli police. And also, I have to pass Israeli settlers. So this is, with the Trump administration, things were more tense. And, for example, when they announced that Jerusalem was the capital of Israel, that was a big shift into, more tension that you can feel, that you don't feel really safe. Like things were not it is not that crazy, but it is bad. It is worse than it was before.
I think what this film kind of shows you is sort of this having settled into this almost institutionalized way of living. I remember when I visited Berlin before the wall came down, and thinking how absurd it was that you had Germans living on both sides of the wall for political reasons. Down the middle of the city, and it reminds me really, in a different way, of that. It doesn't make any common sense. If you would explain to a child, your family's living over there, your child would say, like, well, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. And this really gives you the sense of this. I guess you're saying this has been since 2004, the wall. How it just settles into a norm, and you're pointing out it's not normal.
Exactly. Yes.
It's not normal. Ali, well, I wanted to ask you sort of what was the biggest challenge for you as an actor in this film?
Well, the whole story, it's really, it was a big challenge for me. It's not something for granted, like to see a man really separated from his family. Like now I'm here, I know I'm doing film and I'm away from my family, but it's not the same, it's not the same. Whenever I wanted, like I can go or can bring them to me and I can see them easily. Even like that far away from me, it's about like 15 hours flight, but it's shorter than to really, it's shorter way than Mustafa's life to reach his family whenever he wanted. So for me, the whole journey and the whole situation, the whole circumstances that Mustafa lives away from his family, that's really attract me, and that's really challenging me. And also the human story and the need, the love of his family, and because it's too basic and far away from cliche and far away from how we call it, stereotype that everyone can really put in his mind before he hear about Palestinian life or Palestinian film or a Palestinian story. So here I find something really different and really and also like when we work together, me and Amin, before the shoot, and we tried as maximum as we can and just to really let many cliche things away together. So just
like what's a cliche that you
exactly not the political statements, just really this is the situation and this is the story of this guy and this is his journey and this is what he wants, just to live his life as normal as anyone else in the world.
Yeah. So I mean, has the film come out anywhere? Have people been able to see it, or are you waiting?
Yes. The film actually, I was very lucky that I was able to travel in the pandemic. We went to Venice, so the film was premiered in Venice Film Festival in the Venice Days competition. And there we won the audience award.
Oh my God! Double congratulations! Wow.
Thank you. It was a very special, day in my life when we screened the film there, because for me also it was the first time that I see it on a big screen, because we finished the post-production on Zoom calls, and I never saw the completed version. And it was a very emotional screening because the audience also gave us a very beautiful standing ovation, and I was in tears after all this work.
That's wonderful.
And then after that, it went to many festivals. It went to London, it went to Busan in South Korea, and it went to Thessaloniki in Greece, and Antalya.
All during the pandemic.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was lucky again to travel with the film to Egypt, to a festival in Egypt, and to Tunisia. And so far, I'm really very I feel very what is the word in English? Imtinan, Ali.
Grateful.
Grateful, yes, to the audience and to the people and their reception of the film, because so far we have won 13 awards from in the last 5 months.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And does Jordan always have an entry in the international category?
Not every year, no.
Not every year, right? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So that's great. I have to say, just as somebody who's been watching film from the Middle East for so long, the quality of this film is just so, it's really very high, and the quality of Israeli films have also come so far in recent years, and really addressing the human pain that results from all these decades of conflict and the cost on people. I think filmmakers have really found their voices, and it's wonderful that there's a Palestinian voice like yours that can express, with a lot of empathy all the way around, right? Like the Israelis are not the villains in your story. They're people too, in the scenes where you have them. So I appreciate it so much, and I hope that a lot of people get to see 200 meters. Thank you so much, Amin, for joining us all the way from halfway across the world. Ali from the other half across the world. Good luck with 200 meters. Good luck with the film, and we hope to see you in person someday.
Yeah,
thank you, Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And for our viewers, thank you everyone for joining us today. It was really great to have you. We are loving our international screening series that's letting us all get to know these amazing filmmakers and actors from around the world. We're going to keep on going. We have many more films coming. So as part of this whole endeavor, you can take advantage of a free trial to our TheWrap Pro service. And then you can be the first to know about our upcoming TheWrap screenings. For other information, you can also check out our screening page, screenings.thewrap.com as well. Thank you so much for being here, and see you next time.